Well, welcome back, everybody, to episode 101 of this Whisper series. So glad you're here for this episode, which is going to be about something that's hard to measure, something that's hard to describe, but it's impossible to ignore, and it's really special when you see it in action. I call it the intangibles of leadership. You know, we all operate today in a world that's shaped by AI, by data, technological change and disruption. It's so easy to get distracted and to get the focus on the tools, the technology, the platforms, all good stuff, all important. But the leaders who truly transform organizations often possess something deeper. They have qualities that can't be easily quantified, and these become truly the difference makers. When I think about leaders who embody those qualities, Sanjay Shringarpure is the epitome of mastering the intangibles of leadership. Sanjay currently serves as a technology leader at Freeman, or the Freeman Company, a major force in the live events industry. Throughout his career, he's thrived across multiple industries, and now he's in this global events and experiences space. We'll talk more about that here shortly. Wherever he goes, Sanjay builds a reputation for moving organizations fast, spotting opportunities quickly, things that people don't see normally, and helping teams accomplish things they didn't think were possible. So with that, I want to bring Sanjay in here. You know, Sanjay, you and I have had the opportunity over the years many times to break bread, and the conversation inevitably turns to leadership. And I remember one dinner a few months ago when the light bulb went off, at least for me. And I shared an observation with you that what makes your leadership so distinctive is that you've mastered something that most leaders struggle to do, never mind to find, and that's the intangibles of leadership. You take things that often feel fuzzy and hard to pin down. Somehow, Sanjay, you make them tangible and operational for your team. It's really special. So we're going to unpack several of these traits, how you do that. But first, how did you learn how to make the intangibles tangible?
I mean, honestly, Dan, when it comes down to it, it's years of life experience and years of failure in crucible projects is the best way to put it. Early on in my career, I was put on some very, very difficult projects. ERP implementations, sales implementations, software implementations, outsourcing implementations when outsourcing was not normal at the time. What I realized was there is a rhythm to these, there is a pattern to these, and the errors are kind of foreseeable. You start seeing it. An example of this would be you're in a meeting to do something and there's 7 people talking to you about a business process, and they're all end-to-end owners of that business process. You know you're in trouble. Because there is no design that can be done with 7 people thinking they own an end-to-end process. So, one of those learnings is you have to extend into whichever arena you're doing. So by that, I mean, from a pattern recognition, if you're doing order to cash, you as a technologist have to become an expert in the order to cash process. Yes, there is nuances, edge cases, all of those things that you need to go figure out, but you have to extend. So that was one of the learnings. The second is speed of decision making. I would say velocity. It isn't about making 100% of the right decisions every time. It's just making a decision. What I found more and more in my career is we get stuck in, am I making the right decision? Am I not making the right decision? And a crisis of confidence ensues, which then leads to paralysis in any environment, in any, I would say, department. For me, when I think about it, making that speed, that velocity increase by increasing the velocity of decision making allows for you to course correct at a regular basis. So first it's pattern, second is extending, third is speed of decision making. And then the fourth thing that I would kind of lean into a lot more is building a cadence of these concepts that I've laid out throughout your week, throughout your month, throughout your interaction with either your business partners or your team, so that you're intentionally doing this. And then once that intentionality becomes institutionalized, you just do it without thinking.
Yeah, we've got the first chapters of the book right there, Sanjay. That is good. That is good stuff. And you know, and I like that, the crucibles of leadership, right? It's you just got to go through those times. But one thing that's always impressed me about you with this idea of pattern recognition, decision velocity, execution velocity, you do this early and you do it quickly. Like, most people do the 90-day plan, 90-day listening tour and, build their plan. And what I've seen with you the last few times you started a new role, you're halfway through that and you've already got your point of view. You've got leadership wrapped around a plan. You've already secured investment. Oftentimes you've already given bad news to the board that they needed to hit. Like, that's already in the first 45 days. So how do you do that so quickly and early and confidently?
IT is IT is IT. Technology is technology is technology. There are some universal truths to technology that transcend industry. How you build your department, where focus is more important. Centralized versus decentralized, looking at global business process owners and global technology process owners. Are you going to be a cloud shop, an AI shop? All of these things, you need to have a point of view before you go into a job. This is not a one side is right and the other side is wrong. It is just a point of view. If you hide behind the fact that I need 90 days to go take a look, what are you really bringing to the table? Yes, you need 90 days to understand the industry. You don't need 90 days to understand how a technology organization should run. If you're a CIO
Yeah.
or CTO or, at the C level. Do not confuse learning a new industry, learning the nuances of the industry with, oh, my department needs to be set up a completely different way than it already was. You know what that right way is. It's in,
Yeah.
you may move it around on the fringes, but doing plan, build, run, innovate is not going to be different, and organizing along those lines. Now, there may be less centralization, more decentralization. You may be heavier on the run piece. You may be heavier on your data horizontal or your infrastructure horizontal. But, those components, those building blocks are always there. The other part is preparation, preparation, preparation. So when you accept a job, one, even if you're starting 1 week after you quit your last one, you have to do the homework for at least 3, 4, 5 weeks before. Reach out to people, talk to industry experts that you know. Read everything that you can on the internet about the company. Ask the CEO that you're joining, hey, can you give me the last 6 months of executive briefings, board meeting notes, plans? Usually it's gigabytes and gigabytes of data, and you've just got to read. There is no option for that level of preparation. Every job I've taken, from Gallo to RNDC to Freeman, I've spent a huge amount of time reading the documents and the artifacts that were created by not just the technology services organization, but the broader organization for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks before, and then having an interaction with the CEO or the recruiter or my network to say, hey, look, these are the patterns I'm seeing. These are the concepts that I'm seeing. This is my usual plan. How do you think I should adjust it? So going in on day one, you already have a base level of point of view. And your focus for the first 30 days is understanding, building relationships, and evaluating talent.
Yeah, it might look easy, but there's a lot behind it, and that diligence. It's like, yeah,
You burn, honestly, Dan, the candle at both ends for the 30 days before you join the job, right? You don't start burning the candle later, because once you do that before you start the job, what ends up happening is the speed at which you're delivering, the speed at which you can make an impact increases, and it actually makes your first 90, first 180, first 360 days a lot easier because you've done the work.
one of your other special traits, I call it. You have this healthy impatience, right? You've got, and it's not a reckless urgency, but it's a way of, let's face it, the world's faster. We're going to have purposeful urgency. How do you balance all that? Moving quickly, bringing people on the journey, all that.
Early on in my career, I didn't have healthy impatience. It was very unhealthy. I wanted to do everything faster and I wanted to do it yesterday. What I'm recognizing is, how do you make that into an allowable weakness? So what that means is you build a team around you that understands your stress relievers, as well as they understand your code. So when I'm impatient and when I'm pushing, saying, yeah, this shouldn't take 7 weeks to do, this should be done in 7 days, there is a rational discussion that comes in and bleeds the emotion out of the discussion, and we work the problem. Okay? Because in many ways, that healthy impatience is what allows us to strive for better continuously. But it can become very counterproductive if you make it emotional. And you have to have the integrity and the self-awareness to say, hey, look, I may be wrong here, but prove to me how I'm wrong. Talk to me. Let's engage. Let's do it with data or emotion or whatever, I would say, currency you want to use as a collective team. So there's something that I've really been focused on in the last, I would say, 4 to 6 years in my career, which is you have to build a team. And what that means is you have to build a kind of round table at your executive leadership team. You have to establish, I am one of you. We're going to debate. We're going to argue. Obviously, I have the veto. It comes with the title and the territory. But you don't exercise the veto right away. You allow for a safe space to develop within your team, inside of your cadence, where all of us challenge each other, drive each other to be better. How do you do that? The way I've kind of done it is created once a month, once every 2 months, usually it's once a month, a 2-3 day workshop session with my team where we come together and we dedicate 24 hours to talking about the future and the vision and what we're trying to accomplish. That safe space is not hierarchical. It's more about us building something together. Then the results of that meeting get translated into our daily stand-up cadence, our weekly staff meetings, all on and on and on. And then it's rinse and repeat every month. If you skip 1 month, once every 2 months, on and on. That's the thought process. Dan, this is incredibly obvious. I'll be honest. It's not any secret sauce. It's just doing small things that make the big things better.
Yeah, but we're getting a glimpse into, how you're able to go so fast, why your teams, your teams, and we're going to get into this in a little bit, they are so good. Like I would put your teams against anybody, any day, as you got them in this cadence, as you've got, and because what I'm gaining now is you're intentional, you're spending the time, you're learning and growing together, building that muscle. And so I've got our first, I've got a mystery question coming up too. It's going to help us put an exclamation point on this a little bit, but go
I was
ahead.
going to add one thing to this, right? This isn't building a team isn't just about work. It isn't about just work. It's also about making sure character traits, allowable weaknesses, strengths all get merged together and recognizing them in each other and spending the time and the hard work to have collective self-awareness. It sometimes feels like therapy. And we use partners like Co-Success with Anton McBurry or our HR partners to help drive that. Now, I'm not suggesting that that is done continuously, Dan.
Sure.
It is inserted to do tune-ups,
Mm.
which isn't the same as, hey, we're now going to become a team. The traditional rah-rah. Oh, let's put together some guiding principles. No, let's talk about our fears. Let's talk about our motivations. Let's talk about our stress behaviors. How do we make them irrelevant?
So Sanjay, I have some mystery questioners who have been part of your roundtables, who have seen this, experienced it. And so this first one is somebody who's been with you in 2 companies, 2 industries. So I love his question and his lens from the front row. So listen in.
Yeah, so I've been with you now at 2 companies and I've seen you do this multiple times. How do you work with your executive peers to build the faith and trust to lock arms and launch simultaneous major initiatives, whether it's business impacting digital transformation, reorganizing a technology services department, consolidating federated IT under a single umbrella, while launching a new support model with bringing in a managed service provider and doing that all at once? And I've seen you do it twice. How do you make that happen?
So Dan Jennings,
It's
you've
Mr.
given
Jennings.
two companies. I would say this, look, honestly, I can break this down to 2 words: integrity and sacrifice. You've got to do what you say, period. And then sacrifice in the sense of this, it isn't about, oh, look at what I did. Just do it quietly and fix a problem. Remove friction from their day-to-day processes and try to do it quickly. Yes, it may mean you have to take a beating because you went over budget on something, but you fixed something. Okay? Do those micro wins at the beginning. It's basically small ball. Hit your singles and doubles constantly. Focus on those with a maniacal intensity for the first 90 to 200 days. Once you do that, you will have built up enough credibility to start swinging for the fences. Because just like in small ball, singles and doubles are easier to hit. You strike out less. Hell, I always say bunt every time if you have to, right? You at least make contact with the ball. Just make it better every time. As you go through that process, you build that up. The second part is this isn't about credit. This isn't about chest thumping. You have to build a team. You have to build a relationship where your validation does not come from the business. Your validation comes from your internal roundtable team executing a vision that we all believe in, which will drive value. If you're looking for gold stars, oh, look, Sanjay, you guys are doing a great job. You're going to actually hurt yourself building those relationships because it's going to feel very imbalanced.
Right.
That's
Right.
one. And 2, it's going to be fake. How do you make it real? That's one. The other part is to achieve integrity and sacrifice, we do something called complete transparency. extreme transparency. Yes, when we screw up, there is no spin. This is what it is. This is what happened. This is what we learned. We'll try not to do it again. There's an establishment of a pattern with our business partners to say, you don't believe me right now, but we're going to tell you when we're screwing up. We're also going to tell you when you're screwing up. But this is not about beatings. This is about how do we collectively get better. And for the first 300 days, I guarantee you, my department, me, we will screw up more. But over time, our patterns get better and that trust builds. And then you've got to be willing to be behind the scenes. You've got to not be like, oh, look at what I just did. It's irrelevant. It's done. Move on to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. That's kind of how we've worked. I know it's very simplistic, but that is how we kind of focus on this, and it works. I've done it now across 3 companies, and it's been very successful.
Yeah, there's no question whatsoever. And, those micro wins, put the points on the board, and you just know, and you create, I can imagine the round table. I can see their shoulders relaxing as they realize, okay, he knows we're going to trip and stumble and fall, and we're going to be okay, and we're going to get better. And that just, it gives people that extreme transparency, gives people that ability to go take a risk, right? And overcome those fears of not taking the shot, because it happens so much. And so
We have to collectively then take the shot, right? So you don't go out on a limb unless we collectively decide our team member is going to go out on a limb. It's okay. It's that intensity of communication. You've got your daily stand-ups, your weekly staff meetings, plus the once a month kind of get together and workshops, which create this constant flow of communication, and who's on first and who's on second. It is not somebody's gone off the reservation for 3 months and they come back. That's not how this works, right? You know your successes as a team. You know your successes and your failures are also as a team. The other part of the interaction that I find very interesting is do the hard stuff. It's okay. Create crucible moments. It actually will help you form your team and form your relationships and partnerships with your business to gain credibility. The third thing another thing that we have been focused on is just because we're having this team mentality, this round table, doesn't mean we don't enforce performance and accountability. This isn't a get out of jail free card forever and it's just kumbaya and there's no accountability. You have to have both.
yeah, that balancing act, right? It's really, really important. Well, none of us were surprised when Mr. Dan Jennings made the announcement he was moving over to Freeman to work with you again. SVP, he's just killing it. One of the star graduates of the ExecLX leadership program. And, we tease him, we take all the credit for his leadership success. And, but he's so good. And, Sanjay, take a minute, and everybody listening or watching has experienced Freeman, but may not have known it. Can you take a minute and talk to us about your business and what y'all do there? Because it's pretty big and impressive.
Yes. The Freeman Company is, I would say, one of the premier events companies in North America, if not the world, right? If you've been to an AWS, if you've been to a CES, if you've been to a medical show association, if you've been to a FIFA event or the Super Bowl or Major League fan experiences or Live Nation or Fanatics, Freeman was instrumental in putting that event up or part of creating that event with the organizers and our partners. Everything from, I would say, exhibits, show management, to activation, to the physical building of the stands, all of that, all of those things, Freeman has the capability to do, and we provide those services. We're not out there promoting this, but inside of the events industry, it's a pretty big deal.
Mystery questioner. And, sometimes people might hear in some of what you're saying is, wow, he just seems a little blunt. He seems a little direct, right? And I think that your folks that have been part of your organizations would talk about it as healthy candor, right? And so I think this next question is going to help us go a little deeper into this powerful trait. So let's check it out.
Sanjay, you have a unique ability to challenge teams by asking provocative questions or sometimes being blunt. I've witnessed this many times over the years we've worked together. Yet, your team clearly respects and follows your leadership. How do you balance candor and compassion in a way that continues to push the organization forward at pace? What is your secret sauce, both in the moment and behind the scenes?
Emily Shu. She's the CIO of R&DC right now, as well as the Chief Digital Officer. I would say it's caring, to be honest with you. I deeply care about the team's and individual success. But I'm a little old school this way, Dan. I believe on not beating around the bush, doing it professionally, being open, but having the hard discussion, because those are the crucible interactions that you need to have to be able to progress. If you just paper them, if you just brush by them, you're creating a negative pattern of interaction. You have to open it up. Vulnerability, 2 people, 3 people, a team being vulnerable and addressing the actual issues together is more powerful for the end result than 2 ships sailing like this. That's kind of the reality. The other part is you've got to care. You've got to care about your people. You've got to care about their success. You've got to be willing to invest in them. You've got to be willing to, I would say, spend dinners, lunches, one-on-ones, not talking about the work they're doing for you, but what their career aspirations are, how they want to grow. You've got to take the time to understand not everyone is going to charge the hill the same way. It's basically an investment in time, in effort. And sometimes that investment comes off hours. Sometimes it's a phone call at 7 p.m. at night, 10 p.m., having a discussion on, hey, what's going on? How are we going to work this out? Is there something going on inside of your family that you need support with?
Things like that. Emily, great question. You really helped us to kind of sharpen that point even more. And, people don't care what you know until they know you care. And, you just nailed that. We talked about your journey, EJ Gallo, world-class company, to R&DC, now the Freeman Company. And I have a mystery questioner. He actually asked me if I would read the question for him. And this is just kind of a goosebump thing for me because of who this is. And talk about somebody who keeps a low profile but runs an amazing company, right? So Mr. Ernest Gallo, I'll have you talk about him in a minute. Wanted me to ask you this question. So he says, Sanjay, in a company who uses IT but does not sell information technology, how do you shape a company-wide vision to leverage information technology, and how do you bring that vision to life?
Wow. Ernest is one of the really good CEOs out there. He took over from Joe Gallo, who was the CEO when I was there. Ernest and I spent a lot of time together talking about, over the 8 to 9 years that I was there, helping he helped me frame, I would say, what our technology strategy was, the risks I should take, the risks we shouldn't take. He is one of the greater, I would say, CEOs I've ever worked with. What I would say to answer his question specifically is, technology is pervasive. Today, there is no company that isn't a technology company. We can say, no, I'm growing onions, so therefore, what is it? Yeah, but you're applying seed technology, you're applying harvesting technology, weather technology, so many things to scale and achieve the benefits that you're trying to do. Same thing with every other company that I've ever seen. The only question is it visible? Do you want to be out front with it? Or do you want to be a little bit under the radar, but still be delivering the value?
Yeah.
In companies that aren't willing to kind of say technology is one of our core competitive advantages, even though inherently it is, you have to build your strategy, your technology framework, your foundations under the radar. And you do that by creating business value through each of the metrics that each of the LOBs, shared services, or any of those functions is focused on. Simultaneously applying innovation like AI, like what we're doing at Freeman with mission control and Ramsey Brown, or with digital twinning at Freeman. We did many of these initiatives at Gallo as well. And Robert Barrios is doing them today. They're the CIO who's there. You don't focus on technology as the end. You focus it on it being the enabler for generating business value when you're not selling technology. But over time, what ends up happening in my book is technology ends up becoming your core competitive advantage. The fact that you can close your books in less than a day becomes a core competitive advantage. Your real-time data insights being generated from show site to action become a competitive advantage. A digital twin through our Blue Echo platform of Moscone or LVCC in Las Vegas Convention Center, or your local Marriott, so that you can actually create your event in the digital space. You can test it, you can see it, you can do everything except feel it, so that when you're executing it, it's faster. These are the kinds of things that aren't a product necessarily that you're selling, but these are foundations in your technology that if you keep them invisible, they become a core competitive advantage. And there is less conflict between folks who are business versus tech. In my world, in my worldview is such, Dan, I don't see a separation. I see technologists being the business and the business being technologists, and we're interchangeable. It's just a different skill set.
Right. That's part of all that building your people and growing them. And thank you again, Mr. Gallo, for that and making the time. He was more than happy to do so, Sanjay. So great friendship there for you, of course. And I have another mystery question. Somebody that actually worked with you at Gallo for many years, and he had a number of really rich questions. So I had a hard time picking the right one, but I think we've got a really good question for you here. So let's listen to this one.
During my time working for you, I have seen you read organizational dynamics almost instinctively. How do you decide when to push, when to pause, and when to reposition?
Tarak Patel, he's now a CIO at a logistics company in Atlanta.
That's right.
I would say, look, to answer this question is hard, right? Because it makes me self-reflect a lot more. There's certain things that you just do instinctively through your, I would say, 30 years of experience, having had successes and failures all along, right? But if I was to really take a moment and think about this, I would say I focus on my clarity of vision first. Come up with a point of view, come up with a vision. Then it's not about reading the politics of an organization, but more about how do I make my vision be like the river flowing to the ocean? Yes, we may have to pivot left. Yes, maybe we have to pivot right. But it's also about understanding the motivations of the people in my peer group that I'm interacting with and trying to make sure that the vision I've created at least contributes to their success. And sometimes it may be in conflict, but at that time, you rely on extreme transparency and integrity to talk about it. Say, hey, look, this is going to be something counter, but this is what it's going to do for the greater good of our company, of our values. Are you willing to sacrifice? Because I will be willing to sacrifice in the future. I mean, these are the kinds of things that discussions you have to have. It is a level of candor, transparency, as well as the other stuff to get there.
Tarak, really, really great question, especially given that you've been at that round table with Sanjay, and wish him luck. He's going to do great in his CIO role here. And, Sanjay, you just talked about clarity of conviction. I want to have you kind of pivot just kind of the right a little bit and talk about courage in your convictions. You talk about that, having that courage of convictions to the point of knowing I could get fired, right? You talk about that. Another one of your great Sanjay-isms is partner as much as possible, but don't compromise on vision. And so, I've been taking notes, Sanjay. I've been paying attention to these dinners and these get-togethers. So keep that in mind as we hear from this other colleague of yours and his mystery question, which is going to kind of really double click on that.
Sanjay, I've watched you consistently step into moments where the path forward wasn't clear and still bring calm, direction, and confidence to the room. When you think about the biggest transformations you've led, what inner leadership muscle do you rely on most when the answers aren't obvious? And how have you developed it over time?
It's Paul Fletcher from Freeman. He runs the AV business, the audiovisual portion of Freeman. The clarity of vision thing is you've got to want to do something. I know that's very basic and simple. You can either be a leaf in the wind or you can be intentional about where you're trying to accomplish. And in many cases, when I remember when I became CIO for the first time, I felt overwhelmed. The easy path would have been, let's take a year to kind of feel it out, not have convictions and go. But I would say my direct boss at the time, Doug Vilas, said, Sanjay, have a point of view. You have to have a point of view. And that is how I built the philosophy of having a clarity of vision. I said, you know what? He's right. Me just saying, how can I serve you isn't enough. I have to be a peer at that table. For me to become a peer at that table, I have to have a clarity of vision. I have to have conviction of what we're trying to accomplish. I have to believe. And it's okay if I'm wrong, because you can change, Dan. You can evolve your vision. This isn't a black and white thing. We all evolve. But being afraid of the evolution because you were wrong once or could be wrong is what I call a CIO killer. Second part here is when you take risks, you take calculated risks, but do you just want to tread water or do you want to accomplish something? That is a question you have to ask yourself. Why did you become a CIO? Why did you get to the C level? Was it just for the money or did you want to accomplish them? Was it just the prestige, or did you want to accomplish something? I fall in the let's accomplish something and good things happen category. The third thing that I would focus on this one specific piece is I have tried throughout my career to bleed the emotion out of every conversation that becomes tense. Work the problem and let the chips fall where they may. It's hard. It's an incredibly hard muscle to develop. And I don't think I've developed it fully. My team will tell you I flip out every so often. Even Paul will say, Sanjay, yes, sometimes you get intense. Yes, but you've got to channel it in the right way. You know you're going to do that. Have those relief valves. Create your network where you can call. Paul is one of them. So is Chris Shimmick. So is Martin Mogray at Freeman, where I can call and be like, what the hell's going on? Same thing with Angie Baldwin and Kara, our chief Mulligan, our chief legal officer. You have to build that network so you can bleed your emotion out and they can help you to achieve kind of stability and clarity of vision. And
I get it. That's
to be honest with you, you are also one of those people I call going, what the hell should I do? So
I love those conversations. Yeah, those are really rich, and I learn every time. So, but Paul, thank you. I mean, Paul's been a rock there at the Freeman Company, and I know you guys are doing great work together. So appreciate him. And Sanjay, I want to pivot a little bit. I've got a couple of mystery questioners who have been part of the. This is kind of getting back to the team concept, but really, I would put it under the banner. These questions are under the banner of showing your ability to lift as you climb, right? And your ability to bring people with you and set them up for success. And you just do a phenomenal job of building a workforce that's future ready. Like you make people successful by getting them ready for their next role, whatever it is. So let's listen to this first one. And again, you're going to know who it is right away.
Sanjay, you've scaled your IT organizations from tens to hundreds of initiatives a year, which is a massive increase. I know the secret behind that isn't just process or frameworks. You've been known to hand a leader what looks like an impossible challenge, a timeline that seems unrealistic, constraints that are insurmountable, and you then watch them surprise themselves. Can you walk us through one of those moments? What did you see in that leader before they saw it in themselves? And what does it tell you about how the intangibles of leadership are developed rather than taught?
John Dixon, he's the CISO at, we work together at RNDC, but he's now the CISO at Insight Global, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, John.
Great.
Hard job. And he's doing he's doing customer facing things. He's running
amazing things, Dan. He's doing amazing things.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say this, it's that healthy or unhealthy impatience that drives some of this, to be honest with you, Dan. When I think about why we are where we are, if I was able to, and my team was able to accomplish something in 3 months, my first reaction is, can we do it in 2? Can I do it in a month? Can I eliminate the need for doing it at all? Okay. That's a continuous kind of mental map that goes through my head. The second part is you don't know what your team can accomplish till you strive for the impossible. You don't have to achieve the impossible. You just have to strive for it continuously. You just say, it's going to take me 2.5 years to do an ERP implementation. It will take you 2.5. If you say, can I do it in 9 months? It may take you 13 or 14, but it won't take you 2.5. This isn't about just putting arbitrary, crazy targets. It's about building your skill set and trying to have a real discussion, not on when you're trying to achieve something or a crazy timeline or an impossible capability, but trying to work the problem, which is what would have to be true for this to happen. You spend so much time on, oh, well, that's crazy. No one can achieve it. we don't spend enough time as a team on, okay, let's assume that's going to happen. What would have to be true for that assumption to become reality? And if you push your leaders, if you help them achieve the best version of themselves, where they focus 90% of their time on trying to achieve and only 10% on worrying about, oh, this is a crazy timeline or a crazy capability or it's impossible, you end up surprising yourself. And that's where all of a sudden you have a high performing organization that is building, creating value at an exponential level, not at a linear level.
Really good. It's John, thank you for that question. Congratulations on your success. And John, you'll appreciate this. John and Insight Global is actually hosting ExecLX next week. So yeah, they're just killing it there. He shares your passion for developing leaders, future leaders. So appreciate him. Last mystery question, again, to kind of put an exclamation point on some of these through lines, some of these things we've been talking about. I think you're going to really appreciate this in her. So somebody that, well, I'm going to just leave it right there. I'll let you guess who it is and we'll go from there. So let's tee this up.
Hi, Sanjay. We have partnered together in several major initiatives impacting overall company or IT organizational operations. In each scenario, you've empowered team members to take the lead, take action, and make decisions. Empowering and knowing your team and their talent, or hidden or potential talent, is so important in leadership, employee engagement, and ultimately optimizing delivery of your organization. With talent and skill development being so critical inside an ever-changing technology landscape and needed skills, how do you assess talent and empower the right people and make people development your superpower?
Renee Pearson from Rollins. She's the
Yeah. How do you and Renee know each other?
Oh, she used to work for me at the RNDC. It was she was a head of our plan organization, and she ran some of the largest projects that RNDC ever had. She's a phenomenal leader, and I hope she's doing well. I haven't caught up with her in the last 6-7 months. This reminded me I need to give her a call.
You'll love that. Yeah.
People empowerment is key. You don't succeed because you just have clarity of vision. You don't succeed because you're transparent. You succeed because your people deliver your vision. And it's not even your leadership team who's delivering the vision. It's 5 layers below them, right? So this is a question of how do you engage? How do you create the job of the CIO, the job of C-levels and their directs is to lay out a vision. But it's also their job to create an environment, a org structure, and ways of working to be able to actually execute that vision. Not on a PowerPoint, but get into the details and the nitty-gritty of what that looks like. So there is a portion of my time that is spent, Dan, going all the way down to that level. And for that to be successful, what Renee says is absolutely true. You have to empower at the lowest levels of your organization to be able to actually execute your vision. You can't get them stuck in I got to ask someone for permission. You also have to create a environment where skip levels all the way down to individual contributor interactions are common. You have to create brown bag sessions where you attend to learn something just like the intern who's just joined you. It's that kind of focus on equality of learning which empowers people. It's also you take risks as a leader. You go, hey, Joe, Jane Doe, John, whoever it is, you wanted to do this. This is an opportunity I have for you to develop your skills. I will be with you side by side, and I will take as many of the arrows, and you take all the credit when we're successful. But Are you willing to take that leap of faith? It's surprising to me in my career. What I've noticed is it's a 50-50 thing. I always thought it was going to be 90-10. It's more 50-50. And over time, as your career progresses, you end up attracting people who understand this process together. Now, this is my third company. It's been very easy to attract people. And there's a shorthand already developed for how we interact, how we do, and it accelerates delivery and accelerates creation of value. So the empowering happens, and they're now empowering their people who are empowering their, and it's like a virtuous cycle that gets created. But it's the first path of that has to be laid, 5, 10, 15 years ago in your mind, and then you slowly build over time.
That's such a good point. You start to build that talent brand, you start to build, and everyone knows you. I mean, you're not going to places to do the easy stuff, to do the layups. You're going to places to do the hard things. It's work. It's sometimes it's a grind, and people sign up for that because they know it's going to be special, and you got to deliver results that matter. And that's the part that I think early leaders don't get, right? Like why all these intangibles matter, Sanjay. So I appreciate you saying that. And Renee, congratulations on your CIO success journey. I just saw her 2 weeks ago at an event. She's just, works for Rollins, big brands under their banner global. So yeah, you've got some great people out there, Sanjay. Your legacy, these folks out there doing them. I know you don't want to go there, but I'm just going to say it anyways.
It's not, the reason I don't want to go there is this, right? Your legacy, there is no such thing, I think. I think, look, it's just people, their success. If I could contribute a little bit to their success, I'm happy for it. Because in the end, all of these folks who either become CIOs, become VPs, become leaders, it's their own hard work. You're only a portion of that. My success is built on them as well, right? Is built on their hard work, what they've been able to accomplish to help deliver the vision I lay out. That is why, I don't, you and I know, we talk about this all the time. I don't believe in big legacy. I just want to make impacts.
So, talk about impact, Sanjay, when we started the podcast years ago, we just, you're guest number 101. So long time coming and excited to do it. But, we started this Tech for Good scholarship years ago, not realizing where that would go, what it's become. And so, thanks to, these are people that but thanks to my colleagues, Kath Marston, Erica Hartnett, Jill Lundy, Tracy Dino, these folks, them all. Through their work, we've done over $500,000 in scholarships commitments to 40 STEM nonprofits. So it's a special thing to me because these are organizations that are doing great work. They don't have the budget like a Sanjay does to invest in your people. So anyways, you have this ability today, as you know, to name a STEM organization, a nonprofit that will benefit from our TechLX leadership program. So anybody come to mind that you'd like to gift that to?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an organization that doesn't come to mind when we think of tech, but I really believe in their mission, and both my daughters have been very active in this. And in fact, my eldest daughter, Sanjay Shringarpure, finished her Gold Award, which is like kind of the pinnacle of her Girl Scout journey. So it's Girl Scouts of America. That would be the organization that I would, hope that leverages TechLX.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And I know that they pivoted. They do a lot in tech and preparing these girls for their lives. So that's a first time, and I'm really excited about that, Sanjay. So thank you for that. And having two daughters in Girl Scouts, you can appreciate the impact.
It's been a wonderful experience going through both of their Girl Scout journeys. The Girl Scout cookies, though, on the other hand, I mean, I'm not sure I should be partaking as much as you can tell, but
it's a thing, that's for sure. That's good. Well, appreciate that. Sanjay, before we sign off, people would never know this because you just always have such great energy. But I want to have you talk for a minute about playing hurt. Another of the intangibles, right? Like you had a week that I won't talk about. You've been sick as a dog, like a couple days ago, like you were just down for the count. But we're human, right? So sometimes our energy isn't where it needs to be. Our batteries get low, but people are still watching. So how do you grit it out in those days when you're not feeling it, you don't feel great?
I'm going to sound like a boomer, even though I'm not. I'm old school. This comes from my dad. You got to blue collar this stuff. You got to show up to work. 95% of the battle is showing up and putting in the effort. It isn't about how you feel. It isn't about how happy you are or how sad you are, or none of that matters. There's time for that self-reflection. But if you've committed and if you're really happy with the career you've chosen, you get up every day wanting to go to work. I wake up every day wanting to be a technologist. And I'm thankful for Freeman and Janet Dell to give me that opportunity right now. I know at some point I will have to retire. So I'm trying to make the most of this as much as I can. That's one. The second part is you got to push through. You've got to figure out how to push through. That is not to say you can't take mental health days, you can't take days off, you can't. No, of course you can do all that. But there's a difference between being injured and being hurt. And you have to have self-awareness where you are a leader of an organization. The entire organization looks to you. If you are not able to push through to achieve something great, your organization will not create that muscle. And you also have to be vulnerable. You have to say, this is the week I've had with your trusted leadership team, and trust them not to broadcast it. Support you through that process. And that's okay. And that's what we've built. And that's what I truly believe. But there is no replacement for hard work, Dan. That work ethic, it has to. I'm not saying be stupid about it, but hard work is hard work.
Well, Sanjay, this has been amazing. I've got pages of notes. I'm going to go back and listen again here in a couple of days because it's just so many great leadership nuggets. You won't like the term, but Sanjay-isms, these expressions that you use that are so good. And but thanks for teaching us these intangibles and how to leverage these, how to become a force multiplier for your company and have those convictions, clarity and courageously. So we're going to sign off here, but we're going to spend a few more minutes and talk about, I'm going to call it reimagining and reinventing industries. We're going to write an article about that, how you've done that in different companies, different industries. But Sanjay, this has been so fun. I really appreciate you. I appreciate our friendship and our time together every single time.
Thank you, Dan. This has been wonderful.
Well, that was absolutely incredible. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I am inspired. I'm energized. Always am when I spend time with Sanjay. As I reflect on this conversation, there's so many things that stand out. So many of those Sanjay-isms, so many of those leadership nuggets, those leadership philosophies that really set him apart. The idea of intentionality, about doing the homework. He talked about allowable weaknesses. I've never heard that before. He doesn't just build a team, he builds a round table and commits time with them monthly, bi-monthly to do these deep dive working sessions where they really solve problems, or they tackle things, they do things in timeframes they never thought was possible. So go back, listen to this again. Please share it with your friends. Like it, share it out if you would. And, I just would say as we sign off here, be on the lookout next week, CIO.com. We're going to go further on some topics with Sanjay around reimagining and reinventing industries, how he approaches that and how he thinks about things differently. He's really good at it. So trust me, it's going to be really, really rich. So with that, I will wish you well, and I will look forward to absolutely seeing you next time for episode 102 of the Whisper series.